Sybil Clementine sits at her desk in the executive suite, scanning through data on her quick screen. Reaching for the mug of coffee to her right, she lifts it to her lips and inhales the dark, roasty aromas. Just then, a chime sounds, and Sybil is taken from her reverie. She looks at the pop-up ident screen and frowns. Setting the coffee down, she says, "Connect comm channel." "Hey, boss." The man's voice streams through the speakers built into the desk. "Lavash, you're late. Report." "Bad news. The liar's still kicking." Sybil inhales and closes her eyes. "Give me the details." "Far as I can tell, one of the hitters fell out the window of the hospital and died on impact. His cue's missing, though there shouldn't be anything that can be traced back to us on it." "And the other one?" "Witnesses claim they saw a fight break out between the liar and the other hitter. She had another inspector with her, Hallow, who's a bit of a white knight. They captured the hitter and talked to him, then let him go. He's in the wind. The witnesses also say the liar and Hallow got into a Castsack drift car and left the hospital. But Hallow didn't bring her back here, and she didn't make an official report. What do you want me to do?" Sybil considers for a moment and says, "We have to assume the hitter gave up the info broker. If he has any information that connects to you, he'll need to be taken care of. Can you handle that?" Lavash grunts. "Yeah, I'll handle it." "Good. And if the liar resurfaces, let me know. Otherwise, I'll take care of everything else. Clementine out." She deactivates the comm and leans back in her chair, finally taking a sip of the coffee. It's hot and acrid, but it sends a pleasant jolt through her senses. Swiping a hand, she calls up the profile on the liar. "Sejana Lushale," she mutters. "Meridian. I should have known you'd be harder to kill. I apologize for underestimating a fellow operator. I won't make that mistake again." On another screen, she calls up a list of names. Scrolling through, she selects one and says, "Send secure comm." An indicator pops up, signaling a secure message ready to record. She says, "Greg, I have a job for you. Another technomancer. I know how much you like killing their kind. If you're interested, call me back." Welcome back for another episode of Errant Adventures, the solo actual play podcast where stories are told at the speed of dice. With me, Steve Morrison, your game master and solo player. Now come on, let's grab the dice and see where our story goes. Welcome back to Chapter 12 of Book 1, Meridian. Last time, Sejana realizes the nurse who entered her room is an assassin sent to kill her. Using her technomancer powers, she slams him with a telekinetic punch and throws him out the window. He falls to his death while Sejana puts on clothes and decides to leave the hospital early. Meanwhile, on board the Howlin' Wolf, we see a few vignettes of the crew's return journey to Cassida. They learn about one passenger's desire to become a singer, and another passenger wins money from Einur in a Haldren gambling game. Ayati and Luden Sartan share a late-night snack and watch the lights of the conduit. She offers to talk to Einur about letting him join their crew as an engineer in training. The wolf returns to Cassida, and Einur successfully revives all the passengers in cryostasis. Back at the hospital, Inspector Hallow helps Sejana get discharged and recover her weapons and gear. As they're leaving the hospital, Sejana decides to search the body for any info he might be carrying. She notices another person hanging around and figures he's a lookout. She knocks him back with void magic, and they get into a quick knife fight before he surrenders to Inspector Hallow. Sejana searches the dead body and finds very little. She then demands information from the other man, identifying him as a former Imperial drop trooper. She convinces him to give up his source of info, and he tells her he received the contract for her death from an info broker named Rook. Let's start with Sejana, as she and Inspector Hallow have left the hospital behind and are cruising through the air in Inspector Hallow's drift car. As they're cruising along, Hallow turns to her and says, "Well, we've got a lead. Shall we follow up on it?" Sejana says, "Yes, absolutely we should. Though Rook and I have a history, so maybe I should go in to speak with him alone. I wouldn't want to put you in any danger." Danger? What kind of history you guys have? As you probably already know from the security footage on Overlook, he is the man I knocked unconscious. Right, that's why the name Rook sounded familiar. Oh, so you two do know each other? Yes, well, he and I have crossed paths before, and let's just say that some of the information he got for me didn't quite pan out, and I was a little upset about it. And then I beat him to some other information, and he was a little upset about that. You know, a real back and forth. Hallow smirks and says, "You seem to leave a wake of people behind you that are pissed off at you." Sejana chuckles and says, "I suppose so. Dangers of being a liar, I think." Yeah, just being a liar? Because I've known some liars, and they tend to be personable sometimes. So maybe it's just you. Sejana looks back at Hallow and says, "So if you will land down the street from his office, I will approach it on my own." If you have all of this history, Inspector Hallow says, why would you want to go in there alone? In fact, why not go in there at all? Maybe I should go in and interview him, and then you can follow in after I've got things settled down. Sejana says, "Maybe, but if you go in there and you flash your badge, he's not going to tell you anything." And he is going to tell you something? Sounds like he hates your guts. Sejana nods and says, "That's fair, but I have something that you don't." "What's that?" "We have now a common enemy. They're going to know that they failed to assassinate me a second time. And if that drop trooper is smart, he won't go back. He'll just disappear out of the system. And then they're going to wonder what information he gave me. And so they're going to find Rook and close whatever loose end they think there is. If I can convince him of that, maybe he and I can work together to figure out who is doing this and how we can stop them." Inspector Hallow nods and says, "All right, that does make sense. But I still think that my going in there with you is going to increase your chances of getting a conversation with him and not just getting shot in the face." "Maybe, but I don't want him to know that I'm working with the authorities. He won't trust me then. And I need him to trust me." Hallow shrugs and says, "All right, it's your face." So she sets a course to where Rook's office is located. When she brings the drift car down to land, she turns to Sejana and says, "You want me to wait for you? Or you just gonna do this whole thing on your own?" Sejana says, "Maybe it would be best if you return to your precinct and determine if anyone else is asking any questions. We can't be sure who is working for the corporations or for Verdant Consulting. And if we have to contend with corruption within your own office, I'd like to know about it, and I'm sure you would too." No, I've been thinking about that too. You have my comm link. If you find anything or if you need help, get in contact with me. After that, are you going back to your ship? They should be back based off the flight plan that they logged. Sejana says, I haven't decided yet. I think it's best that, for now, I don't tell anyone where I'm going to be. Fair enough, Luciel. Good luck, and watch your back. Same to you, Inspector. At which point, Sejana is going to climb out of the drift car and start walking down the street towards Rook's office. So let's cut back to the docking bay as we have this group of passengers who are leaving. So the family, all the people who were in the low berths, they were revived, and Einur and Ayati have seen them off. The others who made the trip in the staterooms are also disembarking. We see this brief snippet of a scene where this imaginary camera is panning around the ship, and we can see the top of the ship has opened up, and these cargo cranes are descending down and pulling out these crates of apples and loading them onto a transport drone. On the ground level, Einur and Ayati are standing at the bottom of the boarding ramp, and Ayati is talking with Ash Tuavir. They are looking at their cues, and Ash is giving her a list of numbers, and Ayati says, well, all right, now we've got our quick idents exchanged, and please tell me when you're going to be performing, because we'd love to come and hear you. So good luck, and we'll be around. So if you need anything, just reach out to us. Ash smiles and says, "Thank you for getting me here, and I'll call you when I have a performance, and I'll let you know. Maybe you'll be the only ones who are there, but I mean, it'll be nice to have some assurances of someone coming to listen." Ayati rubs her arm and says, "Hey, don't worry about it. You're going to be great. You're going to make a name for yourself and make your grand proud. Now get on out there and change the world with your voice." Ash chuckles and says, "All right, bye." She turns, slings her bag over her shoulder, and heads out. Meanwhile, Zerdan is standing next to Einur and says, "Well, Captain, it's been a pleasure journeying on your ship. If you're looking for another game, come see me at the Belching Volcano. It's down in Midtown, Devonshire, and we'll play a few hands." "I don't know if I'm going to have time, but I appreciate the offer. Good luck to you, Zerdan. I hope you do well in both business and pleasure." "I think I will. Devonshire is a lovely town for a man like me." He's going to turn and head out. While all this is happening, Ludin Sarton is standing back, his bag down by his feet, and he is waiting expectantly. Einur kind of looks over at him and says, "Is there something else you need, Mr. Sarton?" No, maybe?" And he kind of furtively looks at Ayati, and Ayati waves a hand to kind of calm him down and says, "Well, Einur, I was thinking, Ludin here is looking for work, and, we're trying to be efficient and all, and it's just the two of us kind of running the ship. Hopefully when Sejana gets back, there'll be three of us, but Ludin here is looking for some engineering work, and you're spending so much time captaining and trying to engineer that maybe it would be nice to have an apprentice of sorts to kind of cover some of our bases and figure out, what we might need as far as some engineering crew, and it would help him out, it'd help us out, help you out, and I think we could make it work." Einur looks at Ludin and says, "Excuse us for a moment," and is going to reach a hand out to Ayati and say, "Over this way, please. Let's talk about this in private." So they're going to step to the side, and Luden remains where he's standing, kind of looking around the docking bay with these wide eyes. Einur looks back at him and then back at Ayati and is like, "Are you, sweet on this boy?" "What? No. Einur, I'm just trying to help out someone. He's coming from a small backwater world to the biggest metropolis in these parts of the Reaches. I'm just trying to say if he's got some engineering skills, maybe he'd be useful to us." "And you think that we can afford to hire some more crew when Mr. Zhang is on my ass about being efficient and not costing the company money?" "Well, maybe we could make more money if we had another crew member who'd help you take some of your mind off of making sure that the ship is running well. Look, he's just starting out, so we don't have to pay him as much as the going rate. And there's plenty of opportunity to take on more jobs and get more done if we're doubling our engineering force." "Is an interesting idea. I'll think about it." He seems like he's looking for a place to fit in, and you and I both know what that's like. Maybe we can be that place for him, and maybe not, and that's okay too. But, I mean, at least talk to him and give him a shot. "All right, Ayati. I appreciate your looking out for me and for the crew. I'll talk to him and keep it in mind." "Thank you. That's all I ask." Einur's going to turn back and walk over to Luden and say, "All right, kid. You're looking for a job. Tell me about what you can do." Luden Sarton, who we know goes by a different name. I don't know what Luden's capabilities are. He's kind of a spy, so I assume he has a base level understanding of a lot of different things, but I also don't know if he has enough engineering experience to kind of prove to Einur that he would be a good asset for the crew. So why don't we go ahead and roll on the Oracle check and say 50-50, does he have enough engineering know-how to at least make Einur consider bringing him on board as a member of the crew? So if it's 50 or less, that will be a yes. Here we go. 62. So that's a no. He doesn't have enough engineering know-how to impress Einur. Second question, and I'd say last question on this, is he charming enough or capable enough in manipulating people to play on Einur's heartstrings a little bit to kind of give Einur a sense of, oh, I understand why Ayati is wanting to help this guy out. He just seems like a good dude. And I'm going to say that that's unlikely, which is going to be 25 or less. So here we go. Oh, wow. 24 on the dice. So yes, he is charming enough to convince Einur that maybe he doesn't know a lot about engineering or even enough about engineering to be useful right away. But what he does know is how to say the right things to encourage Einur to think that he could learn all of that stuff. So they're having this conversation, and finally Einur says, "All right, Mr. Sarton, I think it's clear that your understanding of engineering is rudimentary at best, but you at least have a good head for technology. And Ayati has a good feeling about you and wants to help you out. And honestly, you seem like a nice enough fellow. And I have been thinking about trying to bring on a couple more crew members to help share the load a little bit around here. So I can't promise you a job right now. But if you'll stick around here I'll go meet with my boss and have a conversation with him. And if he's happy when our conversation is done, then we'll consider bringing you on a provisional basis. I don't want to promise anything to you, but maybe we can at least do one run and see how it goes. I really appreciate the opportunity, Captain Stargleam. I'm just trying to find my way in this big universe. I know, we all are. It's all right. We'll see what happens. So stay here. Feel free to check out the Star Strider's Respite. It's a lovely little bar. They've got some wonderful drinks over there. I'm particularly fond of the Palernian Star Blaster. Delicious. Be careful with those, because they might turn your head a little bit. I'll let you know when I'm back, and we'll have a conversation then. Thank you again. At that, Einur is going to go and get aboard the hyperrail and head into Davonshire to meet with Mr. Zhang and report on the mission to the Alcatel system. So going back to Sejana, she is approaching Rook's office. And again, it's on this street in kind of the warehouse district of Davonshire. There's a small sign over the door and a window that looks into the kind of front room of this small info broker office. And as Sejana is approaching the door, she is being very cautious because she knows that Rook has cameras that are watching the exterior, and if Rook sees her coming, he's probably going to either try to kill her or try to run. Most likely run. But as she's approaching, she sees that the light of the sign above the door is off, which typically indicates that Rook is not in. So she has pulled out a hat from her bag, and she puts it on over her hair and kind of tucks it down over her eyes, so she's a little less distinct. And she pulls her coat close and sticks her hands in the pockets and is walking quickly towards the door, kind of along the side of the building. It's middle of the day, so there's a lot of traffic on the street. There are transport vessels that are buzzing overhead, going towards various warehouses where they're going to get loaded up. There's a lot of foot traffic on the streets as well. So she's kind of weaving her way through this traffic as she is walking up alongside the building towards where the door is for Rook's office. When she arrives there, she stops and kind of peeks in through the window, and it is dark inside. And then she reaches over and touches the activator for the door, and nothing happens. It's locked. Sejana looks around, and it doesn't seem as though there is anyone inside the shop. So she's going to walk back down the street and go around the building to the back alley. Now, she makes it into the back alley and is approaching the rear door of the shop. Noticeably, the drift car that Rook usually has parked back here is not there. And so Sejana is fairly confident that Rook is not here. So she's going to approach the door, and she's going to attempt to overcome the lock and break into Rook's office. So I think that's going to be a difficult check, which is going to be a target number of 10. And looking through her skills, she has electronics computers at a level 1 skill, which is going to give her a total of 3 with her intellect. So she has to roll a 7 or better on the dice. Does she want to take some extra time? I don't think she does. I think she is in a hurry here, and she knows that she needs to kind of break into this office as quickly as she can so that she can get the information she's looking for, because she doesn't know when Rook is going to come back or where Rook is even. And she really needs to find him to try and figure out why he sent people to kill her. Is it just a vendetta, or was he hired by somebody else? So I'm going to roll 2d6 plus 3. Here we go. Oh, all right. 9 on the dice plus 3 is a 12. So that is an effect of 2, which means that Sejana easily bypasses the lock on Rook's door. So Sejana lifts up her gauntleted hand and touches that panel that's on the back door, and she adjusts some dials, and there's this pulse of energy that kind of ripples through the gauntlet as her cue projects up a screen that shows the inner workings of this panel. There is a string of numbers that begin flowing through the screen, and Sejana is tapping on them and rearranging some stuff. After maybe 30 seconds, there's a click and a beep from the panel, and the door slides open. Sejana dismisses her cue, reaches behind her back, and pulls out her stunner and steps into the room. Rook's office is a front room where he has a desk and various quick screens and stuff like that. And then this back part of the room, which has a small bathroom, like a small kitchenette, and a few like storage lockers as well. Sejana looks around, and there doesn't seem to be anyone back here, but let's go ahead and make a recon check to see if she notices anything as she's entering the office. So we're just going to roll, see what we get. 10 on the dice plus 3 is a 13. Okay, so with a 13, Sejana's looking around, and she sees immediately as she enters that there is a camera on the wall pointed towards the back door. Sejana's going to activate her cue, and she is going to attempt to deactivate that camera so that it is not watching her as she proceeds through the room here. So we're going to do another computer's check at plus 3. She just needs an 8 on this one. Ooh, but she only gets 3 on the dice. Plus 3 is 6. So she fails on that, which I think how I'm going to represent that is that she deactivates the camera. But what she doesn't realize is that it sends a signal to Rook. He normally would have gotten a signal when the back door opened, but I think because Sejana succeeded so well on her computer's check to overcome the lock, I think that she was able to bypass that alarm system. And so stepping in, seeing the camera, and deactivating it in her mind is like, all right, this is the second layer of security. I've deactivated it. It's fine. But what she doesn't know is that Rook has received a message that his camera has been deactivated without his authority, and he is able to bypass and reactivate it. So let's keep that in mind as she's exploring, that Rook is out there somewhere. We don't know where. He now knows that someone is in the back room of his shop. Now, I'm going to roll an oracle check here. Does he assume that it's Sejana? I think it's almost a sure thing. So we're going to say it's 90 or less. If it's 91 or higher, that's a no, and we'll deal with that. But we've got, oh, it's close, but 84 is a yes. So he assumes that it's Sejana. He knows that he sent these assassins after her. What else does he know, though? So maybe we should cut away from Sejana here for a moment. We open on a small apartment in one of the high rises in downtown Davonshire. There is a whole bunch of air traffic that is buzzing by as Rook is sitting in a chair and his cue chimes. And he kind of flicks the notification over to the quick screen that is on the wall, and it pops up with a message that his system has been tripped, the camera system. So he reactivates the camera, and he sees this figure standing in the doorway of his office, wearing a leather jacket and a hat tucked down over their head. And I think he looks at the screen and he leans forward a little bit and sees it. And then he says, "Luciel, getting into my shop." Now, here is the question. Rook is not at his shop. He is in a safe house because I think he heard through the grapevine that his assassins failed and that Sejana survived and escaped the hospital. Maybe the drop trooper assassin that Sejana and Inspector Hallow let go reported into him and then disappeared. I think Rook knows that Luciel is coming for him and is in hiding to avoid her, but he's probably also in hiding to avoid the person that gave him the job. So as we've already seen, Rook received the contract to assassinate Sejana from a man named Lavash. So having received this job from him, would Rook have dug a little bit deeper to see who Lavash's connections were to know who he was getting in bed with, and as a result, kind of know what he could expect from the assassins having failed? I think it's likely, so let's ask the Oracle. We'll go 75 or less. 78 is a no. So he doesn't really have a clue of who Lavash is. He doesn't know that Lavash works for Sybil Clementine. He is going to call up Lavash and say, "Hey, Lavash, it's Rook." "Rook, excellent. Where are you?" I'm out and about. My assassins who went after Luciel, they failed, but I know where she is. She just broke into my office." "Really?" Lavash says. "Yeah, so, how do you want me to proceed? I can find somebody else to go after her, but she's right there." So here's the question. Lavash has been told to contact Sybil if any more information comes up and to take care of Rook. So I think it is likely, again, that Lavash is just going to pass this information on to Sybil. So let's ask the Oracle. 75 or less again. Here we go. 86. Okay. Well, these dice are creating unexpected outcomes. So I think what that means, what that tells me, is that Lavash is maybe a little ambitious and he wants a piece of Sybil Clementine's operation. And so far, he's just been a contact that she's maintained within Cassidon Security. And he is looking for a way to prove his usefulness to her in such a way that she will give him maybe even a job offer. So I think in his mind, he's like, I'm going to go take care of this myself, and then I can turn in Luciel's body to Clementine, and she'll accept that I'm a good right-hand man. Lavash says, "All right, Rook, here's the deal. I'm going to need you to go to your shop and keep her there. I'm on my way." And Rook says, "There's no way I'm going to that shop. Luciel will kill me. She thinks I sent assassins after her? No way. No way I'm going over there." Lavash thinks for a moment and says, "Fine. I understand your concerns. Once it's done, I'll call you. You can come help me dispose of the body." This has got to be off the record. Rook says, it's none of my business why an inspector would want to kill a liar. I want her dead just as much as the next person, so you let me know when it's done, and then I'll come help you." "Good. I'll call you shortly." We cut back to Sejana in the office, and she is rooting through the quick screens. She's activated them. She is filtering through the files and trying to figure out if there is any information here that can help her. So let's go ahead and roll another computer's check. And this time it is going to be, I think, very difficult. It's going to be a target number of 12 because she's trying to break through a whole bunch of security on Rook's computers. It's very difficult. She's rolling at a 3, so she needs to roll at least a 9 on the dice. I think she might take some extra time to try and go through this, because now that she's deactivated the camera and she bypassed the security, I think she feels fairly confident that she is in this place undetected. She is going to take a little bit extra time. That's going to give her a +2 dice modifier. So we're going to roll at +5 here, which means she needs 7 or higher. 10 on the dice +5 is a 15, which is a smashing success. So she breaks through the encryptions. She basically has access to all of Rook's network of information informants. And she is kind of scrolling through quickly, doing searches for her name, trying to figure out who hired Rook to send these assassins. If in fact it was someone who hired Rook to do it, not just Rook trying to get revenge on her for knocking him unconscious and stealing his informant. She comes across a video recording in his records, pulls it up, and she sees a man with short cut hair, a well-kept beard, and kind of olive-toned skin on a video call with Rook. And the man says, "Rook, I've got a job for you." "Yeah, what's the job?" "There's a liar, Sejana Lushale. Are you familiar with her?" "Oh yeah, I'm familiar with her. She's a right bitch. She needs to die. I want you to take care of it. When you have finished the job, I'll transfer 50,000 rue right now, and another 200,000 rue when the job is done." Forgive me, but why does an inspector need a person like me to find some assassins for him? Can't you just go find her and take care of this yourself?" "Careful, Rook. You wouldn't want to run foul of an inspector, would you? Just do the job, take the payment, don't ask any other questions." "All right, I gotcha. I'll make sure it happens." And then the video goes dead. Sejana sees that and she pulls that video file out and is about to send it to Inspector Hallow when she hears the sound of the door opening in the back room of Rook's office. Thanks for listening to Errant Adventures. If you enjoyed the show, please spread the word. And if you want to support the show directly, leave me a review or support me on Patreon at patreon.com/errantadventures. You can also buy me a coffee at ko-fi.com/errantadventures. If you want to interact with me, my handle on all the socials is @errantsolopod, or you can email me at errantsolopod@gmail.com. I also post short fiction and campaign-related materials on my website, errantadventurespod.com. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you in the deep, liars.
Are you looking for a D&D podcast with a dark side? Something more like Game of Thrones and less like Monty Python? Tale of the Manticore is part dark fantasy audio drama, part solo D&D RPG. There's no plot armor here. The dice make all the important decisions. Join me as I resurrect the excitement, wonder, and emotion of old-school D&D. Made for a mature audience, Tale of the Manticore is both a fiction and a game. It's the story where chaos rolls.